Well, I am at the Samish Island Park. It's a small park on the Puget Sound, a little bit south of Bellingham, Washington. The tide is pretty far in, so there's not much to explore. Plus, there's a bunch of private land around here. So I explored this area and then drove up Chuckanut Drive towards Bellingham. I've done some of this route before, but it's always fun to go back and revisit it. There's always more that you can explore. And I actually discovered along the way that there's a state forest out here. So here we go. So I'm off Samish Island, just a little ways up the road, and this is Samish Unit West 90. It's a piece of fish and wildlife land. The day that I was out there was a bunch of people hunting. I've gone a little further up the road, and this is another piece of fish and wildlife land. This is East 90. So this is the first stop on Chuckanut Drive. After leaving West 90 and East 90, I was looking for a place to do some hiking. I looked at the map and found this. This is the Chuckanut Trail. I think it's also part of the Pacific Northwest Trail. And just a little ways up this trail, I saw a sign that said, "Welcome to the Blanchard State Forest." I didn't even know there was a state forest out here, and there was a bunch of trails. So I ended up hiking on this trail for about an hour. Well, I'm almost back at the trailhead, and you may notice throughout this video that sometimes the image quality is really bad. It's because of low lighting between the trees and the clouds, and the fact that the days when I shot this were so short. My GoPro was really struggling. So right at the trailhead, there's somewhat of an established trail that leads down to the water, so I figured I'd check it out since I was there. Well, I am back out at the Chuckanut Trailhead, and I'm back on the trail that leads down to the water. The trail goes much further than I had gone previously, but because the days are so short, I cut the hike early. Well, the main portion of this trail dead ends right here at this track. There's a few smaller trails which lead up to a cliff just a little bit further, which I hiked up. Alright, I'm making about a 30-minute detour away from Chuckanut Drive. I wanted to explore more of the Blanchard State Forest, and the main access to the forest is on the east side. Well, I'm in the Blanchard State Forest, and I headed straight up to the Oyster Dome trailhead. I'm up at Samish Overlook, and Samish Overlook and the Oyster Dome trailhead are in the same location. This is a hang gliding launch point, and there was at least one hang glider while I was there. We're looking north. This is one of those times that the footage doesn't do it justice on how amazing this view is. Here's another view from the Samish Overlook. This is looking south. There seems to be several trails that start out here at the Samish Overlook. This is the Larrabee Reed Trail. It seemed the most interesting. This trail leads back across the service road that leads up here to Samish Overlook. I ended up hiking about 20 minutes out on this trail. Now this service road right here does cross the Larrabee Reed Trail, but it's not the service road that goes up to the Samish Overlook. It does go down to the Acorn Trailhead. The day that I was out here, this service road was closed, but I figured I'd walk down it for a little bit and check it out. Well, this old service road crosses the Larrabee Reed Trail. I think this used to be part of the 5-mile Blanchard Road, which leads up to the Samish Overlook. This section of service road is permanently closed off. They put a bunch of logs across it. Well, I have come down the 5-mile Blanchard Road to the Blanchard Mountain Upper Trail parking lot. The Lily Lake Trail connects in with that parking lot, but I decided to hike up this service road. This leads to several trails. Well, I made it to the alternate incline trailhead. It's about 1 mile from the parking lot. This trail leads up to the Lily and Lizard Lakes. This ended up being the turnaround spot, and after this I left the Blanchard State Forest. I've come back to Chuckanut Drive, and I'm at Larrabee State Park. Larrabee State Park is Washington State's first state park. This is a fairly good-sized state park, and there's a bunch of trails. So the first trail that I did was the Fragrance Lake Trail. I was just going to hike up to the viewing spot, 9/10 of a mile. So the Fragrance Lake Trail crosses this inner urban trail, which starts out here at the park and I think runs all the way to Bellingham. So as far as I'm concerned, it has no connection with the inner urban trail in the Seattle area. Well, this is the view spot on the Fragrance Lake Trail. So I didn't end up spending too much time at the Overlook, and I'm on my way back now. I'm at the junction with the inner urban trail, which means I'm almost back to the trailhead. My plan was to drive up to the Cypress Gates Overlook next. So what's going on here is that I was driving up to the Cypress Overlook. We're about 1.1 miles from the top. There is this down tree on the service road. I was able to find a pullout not too far from where this tree fell. I wasn't really feel liking it at the time, but I ended up hiking all the way up to the top of the Cypress Gates Overlook. From the service road, you can access the Fragrance Lake Trail. From this trailhead to the lake is, I think, a lot shorter than from the bottom trailhead. So this is a Cypress Gate Overlook. We're looking west, And there was a map of all the public lands in the area, including the state and the county. And there was a bunch more trails than I realized in this area. So from the overlook, there's this old service road, and I was curious about it, so I figured I'd hike up it. There is 2 trailheads that start at the overlook, the Rock Trail and the Double Diamond Trail. Well, this is the best view that I got hiking up that old service road. I'm on my way back down, and we got this ridge trail. It's not too far from the overlook. In fact, there's no parking here. You have to park at the overlook. I figured I'd check it out, so I hiked down it for about 5 minutes. Well, we're looking east here, and I'm 90% sure that mountain is Mount Baker. This ended up being the turnaround spot, headed back down to the van, and then on to the day use area. I'm back at the day use area, and Larrabee State Park does have access to a bunch of shoreline along the Puget Sound. There is a fairly busy railroad line that cuts through the state park, so there's at least one overpass and this one underpass, which gives you access to the shoreline. Well, this is some of the shoreline, and you can see there's a rock wall in the center. I think it's pretty popular with climbers. There was someone out there climbing. I'm guessing that they scaled down and then climbed back up. Depending on the tide, I think there is a small beach at the bottom of that rock wall. The last time that I was here, I was able to walk all the way from this point to the boat launch off in the distance. Well, this is going to wrap up the Chuckanut Drive and the surrounding area. I want to thank you for watching.